breaking down Coronado sports. This is the Mustang Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. This is the High School Fan Zone on a Wednesday night. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score and Fox News Now. We're scheduled to get into the Mustang Fan Zone. I thought I let Coach Breanna Gurrero know this was their time, and we may have had a miscommunication, but we'll talk about what the Lady Mustangs are doing. Softball. She's the softball coach, first-year softball coach. I want to jump in here. It was good. I was hoping that I could get them in because they're coming off of a big win last night. They've been I don't want to say they're sneaky. It's Coronado softball. You can't really sneak up on anybody when you're Coronado softball. Anybody who's been around Lubbock and hasn't not had their head in the sand for the last 25, 30 years knows that Coronado softball is synonymous with success. But it's been, the last few years have been a little bit different. They've I believe if J.J. Johnson, who is the godfather of Coronado soccer, I believe he told me that last year when they did not make the playoffs, maybe it's 2 years in a row, that's the first time ever since Coronado started softball, since the softball playoffs became a entity out here. Gone through a few different coaches, had success, just part of Coronado's problem. It reminds me a little bit of, I covered LSU baseball for several years. LSU baseball got so good that everybody that they competed with sort of elevated their level and at times passed them. And I think that's maybe what happened to Coronado. They kind of motivated other teams in town to start improving and getting better, including Monterey and Lubbock Cooper, which, along with Friendship, the last several years have kind of been the standard bearers, and two of those happen to be in the same district with Coronado, so that's kind of explains that. And then the other thing with that is J.J. Johnson's coaching tree has, the branches have sort of spread out. Daniela Garcia, one of his best players ever, the Lubbock High coach. He's had a former, Mo Garcia was the former Coronado coach, and she was also one of his players. So you've got what he taught, what he espoused all those years at Coronado has kind of been taken to other schools. And sometimes it's hard to beat teams that know exactly what you want to do. Now, Breanna, I believe, came from Sweetwater. I don't think she's got a connection here. I think she was from that area originally, so she's a little bit different, a little bit of a new look for Coronado. I want to find the standings real quick here. This has been a little bit of a roller coaster this year. Lady Mustangs have taken it on the chin at times, but recently, and I want to find them on my Game Changer app here. By the way, if you're a softball or baseball fan, parent, whatever, Game Changer is the greatest invention of the 21st century for folks like you and me, because it's basically an electronic, real live scorebook that also allows you to kind of keep track of what's going on here. I see Coach right now. Yep. If you'll grab Roman, will you grab a chair?
620 Avenue.
Come on in, ladies. We're live, so you can sit down. He's going to grab you a chair. I was just talking about what you guys have done recently, so now we can get you to talk about it. Let Coach sit in the big chair on the end, and we'll. All right, and we're going to talk a little Coronado softball here. Coming off of an 8-7 win against Plainview last night, I'm going to have them describe what happened last night. I followed a little bit on Game Changer, but as good a thing as Game Changer is, it's not quite like being there. How are you, ladies?
Good, how are you?
So when you're talking, this is your mic. Hold it above the silver and use your outside voice. He'll adjust you in there. Breanna, give us your bio real quick. I was talking about Coronado and the history and JJ and the influence he's had, but you're not a Coronado graduate.
No.
You're not from Lubbock?
No.
Okay, tell us where you're from.
So I grew up in the Big Spring area in Coahoma, Texas, right outside.
They know a little bit about softball down there.
Just a little bit. So that's where I went to high school and played. And then went to college and played for a year down at Concordia, Austin. And realized that might not be like as far away from home. So I came back and graduated from Tech and then got into coaching.
Before you got here, you were at Sweetwater.
Yes, sir.
And there was one other small school?
I've been around the Lubbock area. I was at Rawls.
There we go.
And then COVID year, we moved to Amarillo for my husband's job. I came back and started the program at New Home.
Okay.
And then went to Brownfield and Sweetwater.
So you've crossed a lot of things off the list already. Real
Yes.
quick before we get to the break, introduce who you brought.
This is our senior pitcher, first base, Anaya Lazo.
Okay. We'll come back in a minute. We're coming up on the break. We'll talk more Coronado softball after this on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Coronado Athletics. This is the Mustang Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. We're in, we'll call it the Lady Mustang Fan Zone since we're talking softball. Coronado won, beat Plainview, beat my friend Carson Robinson. Someday, Breanna, I'll explain to you. Carson's dad is Kelly Robinson, who has a lot of connections throughout Lubbock. So I've known Carson probably since he was, if not younger than your players right now. So they're going through some growing pains at Plainview right now.
Of course.
But you guys had your own growing pains.
Yes.
But I think if I just saw right, you've won 3 of the last 5.
Mm-hmm.
And last night won 1 in the bottom of the 7th. So either one, I can let player explain what happened. You guys go to the bottom of the 7th, tied 7-7.
Yes.
And tell me what happened in the bottom of the 7th.
Okay. I don't remember if the first person got hit or if I believe all 3 of them got walked.
Okay.
And there was 2 on, and then they had a intentional walk.
Yeah.
And then after that, they wanted a force, and then just the last girl got walked, and that was our winning run.
Were you in the middle of any of this?
I was not.
But did you pitch last night? You're one of the pitchers, correct?
No, I did. I
Okay.
did not pitch last night. But yes, I am one of the pitchers.
So you had a front row seat from the dugout.
Yes, I did get to hit. I want to say about 4 times.
Okay. Breanna, introduce your player that just showed up here. If that falls over, we'll build Chuck
So
Hines.
this is one of our other pitchers and middle infield, Allie Garcia. She is the one that pitched the whole game last night.
And I believe, Allie, you were around last year. I think you may have come on the radio last year once.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So y'all, it's not been a great season, just to call it what it is. But you guys, as I mentioned, you guys have started to kind of figure it out a little bit. You two that have been around a little bit with this team, what has started to click for you?
I think what's starting to click for us is actually like working together as a team and like making those necessary plays.
What about you? What do you think started to go better?
I think we've gotten a lot better at building off of each other, and picking each other up whenever there's errors made, and then just building off of like a good moment.
Because Breanna, I remember we texted early in the season, and it was a tough loss, and
Yes.
you said something about it's going to take some time to figure this out. Are you and the girls starting to figure it out with each other, or figuring each other out a little bit more?
I think so. I definitely can say yes. There's a turning point that I saw where, okay, now it's starting to click. Now we're starting to understand what needs to happen. And now we were actually, it's so funny you bring this up because we were talking about it today at practice. All the things that they do now without even really realizing it that they never did before. And it's just all those little things that I've asked, like, recovering from you might miss it, but we need to recover. And we did that extremely well last night. That's how we were able to throw 4 people out on the bases.
Wow.
Just building off the momentum. Going into the 5th down 5-1 is kind of it's kind of scary for some people. And for us, if you would have asked us 6 weeks ago, how do you feel going into the 5th down 5-1? I don't think they would have been they would have been uneasy about it. You ask them now because we asked them today. And how do you feel? How'd you feel going into the bottom of the 5th? 5-1.
I said that I wasn't necessarily nervous or scared. I had confidence in my teammates and myself that we could get out of it and pull out a win.
What about you, Allie?
I just knew that we needed like one of those momentum plays again. We just needed to get our energy back up.
With being nowhere near the field and just being able to look on Game Changer, what that tells me is that your girls care.
Yes.
We're getting late in the season, and we kind of touched on it. You all have an uphill climb to get to the playoffs, but you can at least finish on a high note.
Yes.
But we're at the point of the season where only senior?
One of two.
One of two. We're especially seniors. I love seniors. I've got a senior in high school myself. They can kind of check out up here and not care, but it sounds like you've still got a group that cares.
Oh, they definitely care, and like I said, it's coming in and putting in the work that they have. It was totally a mindset change, and it was a culture change, and it's something that they had to get used to, and it's hard to do, but they accepted it. They worked hard at it, and now they're starting to kind of put everything together and put all those little things into one big thing, and that's where they're starting to see it pay off. And so, like you said, it hasn't been a great season, but I think the scoreboard tells a different story than if you sat and watched the game, because there's a lot of times where you look at the scoreboard and it's like, dang, that was a beating. But I don't think we ever got to a point where we felt like that. We kept people on their toes, and we had maybe one big inning that didn't go our way, but we definitely weren't the team that we were 6-8 weeks ago.
That's what high school sports is all about. And I'm going to let these two answer it. Part of that, too, is there's some pride putting that red and gold uniform on. When you play softball at Coronado, you guys remind me a little bit of Monterey baseball. They had a really rough year last year, and now they're right in the thick of things. Mm-hmm. They walk into their stadium, and they see all the accomplishments. You guys see the same stuff. How much does that motivate you to know you want to be one of those teams, if not now, next year, that's back up on that wall or fence or wherever they put the accomplishments?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like a pride thing. Like, everyone hears Coronado, and you want to beat them. It's just you want to win. You're still young people, but Coach knows. She grew up nearby, and she mentioned that you know who J.J. Johnson is when you play or coach softball in this area. That for a long time, Coronado was the standard, and not just in Lubbock, but one of the teams in West Texas. So we're not too far removed from that. Yeah. Which we're coming up on the end here, Breanna. But when you applied for this job, when you were pursuing this job, how much did that play into it? Knowing that I can go coach at a program that's done this. Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people might have been scared to try to step or coach behind JJ. Very big shoes to fill. He set a standard that was just amazing. I was excited. I know what I can do as a coach, and I know what girls who buy in can do underneath me. And I also know about pride and seeing those titles and those names and district championships, and I know what it takes. And I just wanted a chance to bring that back and try to put Coronado back on the map where they belong.
And I think the last couple of weeks, starting to see those signs of life. Be curious to see how they finish and then how that leads into next year. We're coming up on a break. We'll be back after this in the Tiger Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.